excited to share today's episode with you because it packs a double punch. If you are getting ready for a PCS, if you are already thinking about your next PCS, or you're just trying to find a way to better organize all the things you have, this episode is for you. And for my military spouse entrepreneurs, if you are trying to build a business, this episode is for you. If you are curious how all of these things fit together, then let's dive in and find out. You, my friend, were made for more. More than the managing of schedules, keeping up with kiddos, and holding down the home front. Welcome to the MilSpouse Mastermind Show, the podcast that empowers you to get unstuck and craft a life with more meaning and less overwhelm. I'm your host, Christine, seasoned military spouse, mom of 3, and your guide to designing a life you love and growing a purpose-fueled business as a military spouse. I believe you have something valuable to offer, and when you pursue the things that light your heart on fire, you trade frustration for fulfillment and isolation for a life of impact. It's time to discover who you are meant to be, because together we can change the world. Welcome back to the show, friends. Can you believe we are already here at the end of August? And I know for many of you, kids are back in school, and you may be using this time to, number 1, take a deep breath, number 2, get unpacked, or number 3, figure out who you really want to be when you grow up. Sometimes as military spouses, we get so focused on taking care of everyone and everything around us that we begin to lose sight of who we are, what we have to offer, and what really lights us up. We put our heads down, we get the job done, and when we come up for air to finally take care of ourselves, we're not even sure where to begin or what it is that's going to truly bring us joy. And here's the thing, friend. You were made for more. More than the managing of schedules and keeping up with kiddos. You have something valuable to offer the world. And I want to see you step into your true potential. And the way that we get there is by getting clarity on who we are and what matters most to us. And that's why I created the free clarity workshop for military spouses. In about 45 minutes, I will walk you through some practical exercises that you can do to really get clear on who you are and what lights you up and how you want to spend your time. Because the one thing that I have learned over time is that the more that you carve out time and space for yourself, not just to do something nice, but to truly invest in yourself and to pursue purpose, the more fulfilling your life will be in each and every season. And so the greatest gift for yourself in this season might simply be to carve out some time and watch the free workshop. You will learn so much more about who you are and how you can make the most of the time you have, whether that is 5 minutes a day or 5 hours. That free workshop is available at milspousemastermind.com/workshop, or you can find the link in the show notes below. All right, today I'm talking with the CEO of STACHD, Michelle Ruesch. Their motto is move it, store it, find it. Now, there are 2 interesting things to note about this particular episode. Number 1, almost every episode I only record the audio component of our conversation. But because Michelle wanted to demonstrate what their company offers, we actually recorded a video of this conversation. So if you want to go see the video, you can head over and watch that full-length episode either on our YouTube channel or on our website. I will have all of that information linked in the show notes below, so just click on that and you can watch the video of today's episode. The second thing that is important to note is that we recorded this episode a couple of months ago, and they were formerly known as Packing Props. They have since then rebranded and are now known as the company STACHD. STACHD. So if you are confused at all in this episode, it is because we refer to her company as Packing Props, and they have since rebranded. All right, so what I wanted to do with this episode is really give Michelle a chance to talk about building this business and how the idea for this business was sparked by a military move. So sometimes we get so focused on, how do I start a business? What should I do? What can I do to earn money? And I really wanted to shift that perspective for you today and talk about, let's not just start a business, let's solve a problem. And so we talk about what STACHD does and what kind of problem they're actually helping to solve for military families. And in the process, we're going to learn how the company works, what's available, and why it might be a great thing for you to use for your next move, especially if you are doing a DIDY move or a PPM now, personally procured move, or you are wanting to be more organized with your stuff. Because that was the first thing on my mind as I was listening to Michelle talk, is that we have all of this stuff that we often store in our garage or in a basement, or in my case, in the hot water closet. But sometimes it's hard to know what that stuff that gets stored away, what's actually in those boxes, in those crates. And so this is an easy way for us to be able to track what's inside and to have those labels that make it easy to keep track of things and look them up. So I hope that you get a lot of value out of this conversation. Here's my conversation with Michelle Ruesch. All right, Michelle Ruesch, welcome to the MilSpouse Mastermind Show.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be with you today.
I am excited for our conversation for two reasons. One, I love taking our community behind the scenes of what it takes to really build a business, because I love helping military spouses make money from home, and I love businesses that really support our military community. So would you just start out and kind of tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get into how Packing Props came to be?
Sure. So, a background about what I do. I've had a few different businesses over the years. We specialize in printing. We've done a lot of printing, technology, and Packing Props just kind of came about as a need. My daughter and her husband, they're in the military. They're stationed in England right now, and the PCSing situation that, after multiple times of them moving and having to pack and move, and her and I just put our heads together, and, we thought there's got to be a better way to do this, to ease the stress, and just make the whole process easier on the military families, and, a lot of times on the spouses themselves that are carrying the brunt and the majority of the load in that process.
So, what was the biggest pain point that your daughter was experiencing? Like, what was it that really was this thing that, like, I wish there was a solution to this problem?
It was trying to organize all of their goods, all of their contents. They had multiple moves within the States, which were challenging, but this move going overseas was especially challenging because some of their belongings were going with them, some were not going at all, some were going sooner, some were going later. And so trying to organize, it's kind of like you're packing up your life, and so everything's not going with you, and some of it's coming later. And so to try and actually inventory all of that and organize all of that just was such a daunting task. And there's a lot of products out there to try and help color coordinate and make it easier and inventory it, but we felt like we could do a little bit better than that and kind of incorporate that into an app that would kind of bring it all together and bring technology into that organizational process and just make it that much easier. When you're having to pack up a portion of your life and things are going to be in boxes and you get to a new place and you're like, oh, I need the birth certificates to go register the kids for school, or I need this, I need that, or especially if it's packed up for years and then you get back home to the States and you've had stuff in storage and there's things you need to go find. So just to be able to better inventory and categorize your contents, we felt like we could create something that would, obviously not only help them for future moves, but help military families in general.
I know that when we get back stateside and whatever is in our long-term storage, I I don't even know what is in there anymore. So whenever all of that stuff gets delivered to our house, it's going to be a big surprise.
Yeah, and you're kind of tempted. You're like that saying of like, if you've done without it for, however long, do I really need it anyway? So it's like probably a little tempting to just be like, do we just have the donation truck just show up and
Yeah.
actually just haul it all off and not even lay our eyes on it? Because once we do, it's kind of like when you try and minimize and downsize or kind of declutter, so to speak. And you're like, I want to declutter and get rid of this. But then you're like, oh, but I might need that. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Definitely.
So talk about that process of understanding that, hey, this is hard, this is challenging, this is overwhelming, it causes a lot of stress. And there are some solutions, but what was it that was like, hey, we can do this differently and we can do this better? What was kind of that aha moment for you?
It was, of all of my kids, I've been self-employed for many, many years. And of all of my kids, my daughter that's in the military is probably the most like me, business minded wise. And so we collaborate on a lot of stuff. We work together on a lot of stuff. And so it was just talking with her and feeling her pain. And we're just talking through everything that she's trying to accomplish and tackle to prepare for the move, and just in us talking about it and just it was just kind of like this aha moment of like being able to better inventory and keep track of what's in what box. And just it was just kind of like an aha of like we could bring technology, we could bring this into this century and kind of add technology to that process. And so just taking what others, there are people out there that are trying to do it with duct tape and just use color coded, different colored duct tape, and you're trying to just write on the boxes. And in your mind at the time, as you're packing the box or you're watching the movers pack it, you're like, I'm going to remember what's in that box, and how quickly we forget. It could be, I've done short moves where in a couple of days you're at your new house and you're like, you knew for sure you were going to remember what was inside that box or where that specific item was packed. And it can be as short as a few days later. It's just there is so much going on, in a move in general, but add it being a military move where, most of the times it's not in the same community. Your kids are moving schools, you're moving, new friends, you're moving away from family. There's just so much that goes on that brings added stress and chaos. And so being able to minimize what we could in that, moving an organizational area of everything that's going on in that PCS, we felt like would just be a huge benefit to military families.
Yeah, I know last summer when we moved, it was 4 months from when our stuff got packed up to when we actually received the stuff. And
Yeah.
fortunately for us, the school we were coming from required uniforms. The school we were going to required uniforms. And I was like, I don't know where the kids' uniforms are. Fortunately, we had uniforms in the suitcases because we still had to have those for school, at least a few of them after we'd packed everything up. But I totally understand how, when it's been a while since you've seen any of your boxes, you're like, I don't know where anything is. So talk to me about after you have this idea, what were some of the first steps you took to get started?
So first was just kind of planning out what the app would look like, kind of what what it would do, the information that it would be able to hold, and then just kind of sketching it out. I've since I've been in business for myself for a number of years, we have a technology team or a programming team already. And so I reached out and approached them. And of course, my daughter's in the middle of the move while all of this is going on, because that was kind of the spark that started the whole endeavor. And so we're talking, we're communicating. She's, my number one as far as input. I'm kind of like the boots on the ground day to day. And she's a little bit removed being so far overseas right now. So we just continued to talk and kind of plan what it would look like, what she felt was most important as far as how it would function, what information it would entail and hold. And it's a living, breathing thing. It's continued to change, as we have families use it. And, they say to us, if it could do this, we started it with it just being a single user app. And then, we've had families that have said, sometimes there's more than one of us packing at a time. So if we could have multiple users, so then we added that feature to it. So we're constantly changing and improving it based on our users and what will better make their life easier in this whole process. So, we just kind of started to plan it out, and our programmers got to work and, came up with an initial beta version of it. We did testing, we modified a little bit. We kind of just went back and forth with that process till, we kind of tweaked it enough to where we could release it and let people start using it.
Well, I think it's so important that you're getting user feedback and you're
Yep.
taking into consideration what people actually need, what they want, what's going to be most helpful. Because sometimes when we build, whatever it is that we are creating, and we think it's got to be perfect before I can release it, I've got to get all these features. And sometimes you just have to kind of put something out there and keep iterating on it. So, talk about some of the challenges you've faced as you've built this.
I could not agree with you more. It is so true. I've owned a few different businesses over the years, and your final product, products are always living and breathing and changing, but what you think, your first idea, what you come up with, I don't think is even ever what really you first get to market. Things just, they change. Your first concept and they change. And so, we had our first idea and our first thoughts, for example, were, here's some samples. And so it's like, okay, we'll have 5 closets, 5 bedrooms, and they'll all come pre-printed like this with the names. We've got a list of 30 names. Hey, we got it covered. And then how quickly we realized, from customer feedback, that somebody will have a unique room in their house. They'll have something that different. No matter how much you try and cover the bases of everything, there's still, everybody's situation is a little bit unique. And so we've continued to modify. We've added a couple different options to where you can order them just blank, the different colors blank like this, and you can fill them in at the bottom, or we actually custom pre-print them for you. So like this says Halloween, swim. If you're organizing some of your contents, Tyler's room, you can actually order them all custom printed as well. So we offer the 3 different options. We quickly realized that cookie cutter was not, a one size fit all. And so we've continued to make those changes. We obviously are partial to the app, and we feel like it just brings a whole new level of organization. But there are some people there's a whole spectrum of people and where they are on the level of organizing. You've got your ultra OCD organizers and all the way to the other side of the spectrum. And so we also offer them without the QR codes. If you're like, I really want to color code, I really want to organize, but I'm not gonna use the app. My oldest daughter just moved. They're remodeling their house, so they were moving out. And so she's like, Mom, I just have to tell you, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna use the app. And I'm like, it is so easy. In fact, I went over once, I showed her, she was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. But at the get-go, it felt daunting. It felt overwhelming to her. And I said, look, if you don't want to, We also offer them without the QR code. We can still personalize them. You can still get them blank. You can still get them with the names pre-printed, but we really want to make it to where we have something that's going to fit anybody's unique situation and needs and be able to tailor that for their situation. Sometimes if you've got the movers coming in, it makes it kind of difficult to use the app and actually, you've got so many movers and they're packing. So how do you effectively get everything into the app? So whatever is going to work for you, we've tried to make it to where we can tailor something that's going to help, create a less stressful situation for this moving and packing process.
So talk to me about it, because I have that same question. We had 24 hours notice that our movers were coming, and then they are at our house packing things up as I am in the other room still trying to sort things like, what are we taking with us in the suitcase? What are we putting on the boat? And what is the feedback that we've gotten that has been the most helpful, trying to keep track of what's going into the boxes when you can't be all the places at once?
Yeah, I just heard so many different situations. And so it just really depends on what your moving process is looking like. We can do anything from at least just using the labels without the QR codes, just a blank one without the QR code. And at least as the movers have packed, if they leave the boxes in each room that's packed, in minimum, you can go and in a color code label them, because what makes it really easy on the other end is we've got the door hangers that match up with the colors. So at least if you can color code your boxes, you've got these matching door hangers you can use on the other side when you get to your new home, and which boxes go into which room. If you've got information that the movers are giving you, or if they're writing on the boxes of contents, and after they've left for the day, if you have the opportunity to go in and add those into the app and at least inventory all the way up to where if the process is slow enough that you can actually go in. One of the beauties of it is you can add photographs. And so if you can go in and just add a box and at least add a simple photograph of each box before it's closed, I've heard that works really well too. If you've got movers there, you can at least, walk there. They're packing a box slow enough that you can at least go from room to room, add the box, snap a photo, and then go do the next one. So it really, is tailored to fit whatever. If you're doing a Diddy move and you're doing it yourself, you've got, more time and more leeway and flexibility to inventory your contents. One of the other things is we've had a couple families move recently where they have gone overseas, and so not all of their goods are going with them. So as they were packing up, we had one recently that was 3 different containers. So container 1, 2, and 3. And so we actually created secondary labels. So you'll have your primary label of which room it goes to. And then we've created secondary smaller labels that can go on the box as well, that can be categorized for, which container it's going into, or this is staying home to go to long-term storage. This is going with us right away. This is coming later on. There's different shipping times within the military. So we can really categorize and help create a system that's gonna work for each family situation.
So talk a little bit about the app, and especially what some of the unique features on the app are.
So I think probably the easiest thing is to just run you through what it looks like to add a box really quick. So we'll just say I'm packing a bathroom box. So you're just going to touch the scan button, and then you're just going to scan that QR code that's on the label that you're working with. Okay. So one of the really cool features is the box number right there. So O1, I'm user O1. So you always know who packed the box. And then this is the second box I'm packing. So it's number 002. Another really cool feature is you can use your talk to text with it. So you can make it can be, really quick, a really quick process to enter things. So let's just say, so you're going to title your box. So bathroom supplies. And then this is where you're getting to the room. So this is going to be the green. We're working with the green bathroom. So you can go in and you can actually nickname these too. So you could go in and nickname and change any of these colors that you want. And then say you wanted to subcategorize. So then we have the 30 additional colors in there that you could categorize. So say I want to make categories for each one of my kids. So I would say this is bathroom stuff, but this particular box belongs to Brooke, my daughter. So I could nickname, say, this candy color as Brooke. So then I know that this specific box belongs to her. Say you're doing your garage. These are sporting, supplies. But this belongs to John, this belongs to Susie. So you could go in and subcategorize however you want. So then you can go add your items. You can click add items, and I can say towels and soap. Hit okay. Every time you say or type and, it knows it's a separate item. So you could literally just sit there and say towels and blankets and it's going to list them all separately. Then you could also attach a picture. So I'm just going to add photo, and then I'm going to go to my camera and take a picture of the scissors here, firm, and then you can add a description. So I'll say scissors, and then I'm done. So now it shows you've got one picture attached as well as all of your items that you've entered in the box. So if I say done, so I've created that box. Now if I go into my boxes, it'll show you that box number 2 I created. I had a previous box in there, 001. So that lists all your boxes. You could go up top and sort them by your rooms, by categories. I can go into my rooms and categories, and it will show you all 30 of them and tell you how many boxes are in. If I went into this bathroom I just entered, it would now list all of the boxes that are in that room. Same thing if you have subcategories. So I assigned one to candy. So it would tell you all the boxes that are in that category. Excuse me. The best thing is find item. So if I went in here and said scissors, it's going to pull up and tell me which box that's in. So for the find feature, that title, so bathroom supplies, that title, anything I listed, so the towels, soap, anything in that list, and that little description I put under the picture, those are the 3 fields that it's searching. The other really cool thing is, say I had this box sitting there and I'm like, I don't know what's in it. I don't want to open it and rummage through the entire thing to see if what I'm looking for is in it. So I can just hit my little scan button, go up and scan this QR code, and it's going to bring up and show me that box and show me everything that's in that box. So those are some of the key features. Down there on the lower bottom is where you can add additional users. So if you had more people packing, you would just go in here and add multiple users so that you had multiple people that could be packing at the same time.
Well, thank you. That's really helpful to kind of walk us through like what is possible and how it can work for different users that need that different features. And like some of us are going to be super organized, some of us are not organized at all. I am curious, as you continue to build this, what is it that keeps you motivated? Because we all know that we have good days, we all have bad days, but really, what is it that keeps you going on those hard days?
It's that creative, probably the creative and the competitive edge both in me. People will ask me all the time, what are your hobbies? And I'm like, work. I love to scrapbook. I spent years in the craft industry and scrapbooking industry. That's kind of what got me into printing. But it's a challenge to me. I love creating. I love business. I love making a difference. I love helping people. And so, yeah, there are those bad days. Business is hard. Business is not, it's not easy. And, it's what I say to, I have really good friends that work with me, and we're having a bad day. And I'm like, if it was easy, everybody would do it. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's very rewarding. And so there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's always a challenge. And it's a passion of mine, and I love it. And I love that, my daughter and I are like-minded, and although I wish she was closer and got to come into the office every single day, she's in a little bit just different stage of life. And so we can kind of complement each other, and I can my youngest, two youngest are twins, and they just turned 18. And so it's a little bit easier for me to do some of the things that she can't really do right now. She's got, three little ones on the way, or three little ones at home, and actually another one on the way. And so it's just in a different stage of life. But I love the fact that we bounce ideas off each other, and it's a way to be able to stay connected and to work closely.
What's the most rewarding part for you?
Just making a difference. Whether you're competitive in sports, whether whatever you're a competitive race car driver, whatever it is, it's just that sense of accomplishment, and it's the challenge. But at the end of the day, it's just making a difference. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you're at work all day, you're in the professional field, it's making a difference. It's just, and I feel like now I'm getting like all sentimental, but it's like I feel like the older I get, it's just that's I think more at the forefront of my mind, is just being able to make a difference. I'm totally off topic, but I'm a dental hygienist. That's what I went to college for, and practiced for a number of years. But actually just went with a huge humanitarian group to down to South America, and just worked for 4 or 5 days in a dental clinic, just being able to help those that that need it, that don't have the opportunity to those services. And so it's fun to get to the point I am in my life where things are winding down with my kids at home, and I have the opportunity to help others and see where I can help and use my strengths and my knowledge that I've gained over the years to help others. So, and a lot of it is to help my kids too. I've got older kids now with families and challenges, and back to the beginning, that's kind of how this whole thing came about. How are we going to help my daughter with all these moves?
No, I think it's so important, because I think what you're getting at is something that we all want, and that is to have this sense of meaning and purpose, and to feel like what we are doing makes a difference. And that looks different, as you've talked about, in each season of our life. And so
Yep.
in the season of, parenthood with littles, having a way to make a difference is going to look different than when you have a lot of time because your kids are leaving home. And
Yep.
but that doesn't mean that each of us doesn't have something that we can do in this season. So I think it's really important to understand that this is a desire that we all have, and it's okay that it looks different in these different seasons. So I appreciate you coming on and kind of sharing your story, your experience, and how you found a way to address this pain point that so many military spouses, military families have, and say, okay, here's a way that we can help make things better. Here's a way that we can kind of reduce that stress and make a difference at the same time.
Yeah, and like I said before, that's why we created this, is to, help resolve that pain point, or minimize. We're not gonna make it be like a trip to Disneyland. It's just, it's never gonna be that. But that's what we want to do, is help make it a little bit easier. And so we want to be approachable. We want, if there are families that, when they're using our products, if they say, if you did this, it would help. You guys are the ones in the trenches. You're doing it every day, and we want to hear from you. So like I said, it's always a living, breathing thing that is ever changing. And that's because of the feedback and the input that we get from the users, from those families that are going through this day in and day out. And so we welcome that, and we look forward to it.
Well, let everybody know where they can find Packing Props, how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so packingprops.com, that's the easiest places to go to our website. We're on Spousely as well. We love Spousely, just another way to support the military families. So you can always find us there. You can message us through there. You can purchase there. You can go directly to our website. We would love to hear from you.
All right, friends, I hope that you walk away from this episode with both a practical understanding of how creating a business comes from identifying a problem and then creating a solution for that problem that actually meets a need. and also finding a really practical resource to help you simplify and streamline your next move, whether it be across the base or around the world. I hope you have an amazing week, friends. I will be back with you again next week. Until then, may you live filled, fueled, and full of joy. Hey friend, before you go, the MilSpouse Mastermind community is here to help you thrive as a military spouse. Figure out what lights your heart on fire and equip you to create a life of impact. You can have an incredible impact simply by heading over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. And if today's episode was meaningful to you, I know it will be for others too. Spread the word by taking a screenshot of this episode and share it to your stories so we can continue to reach more people, change more lives, and shift the way that military spouses look at life. Because we are better together, and together we can change the world. Let's do it.